determined that 2 dogs is a lot of dogs in a house when you're only used to one
More
dog.
dogs than you want.
Yeah.
1 dog too many. 2 dogs too many.
I mean, so this dog is approximately twice the size of my dog, which, granted, isn't very big. So you go from like 5 pound, this dog's probably like 12 pounds or something like that. But it's just, I mean,
my dog is the
small
size
dog.
of one of my kids. It's
Yeah.
an animal. Now it thinks it's a lap dog, so it crawls up on you. You know, it scars the crap out of your arms because it has huge claws. It weighs, I don't know how much it weighs. I don't want to get into that again. It weighs a lot. You know,
Well, the
bad
primary
dog breath.
the primary difference here is my dog cannot jump up onto the couch or the table or the counter or the bed.
And this other one can.
Oreo, or as I like to call him, chocolate chip, just to assert my dominance to the dog.
Okay.
Can jump on all these things, and I'll be sitting there just working or whatever, and just
Yeah. And all of a sudden there's a dog right in your face. Yeah.
yeah. So it'll be a week.
Where are these people going? They went away
Just
or
to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing like just South Carolina, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, but I'm not there, so it's.
We have we're actually going to go away Sunday and Monday night to Philadelphia. This won't affect anybody. We can do the podcast and whatever. I'll work, but we couldn't get a kennel for the dog, so we actually have a relative coming over to stay at our house to care for our dog, which is not a task I would ask anyone lightly. I mean, our dog is a handful for sure, but hopefully they're both still alive when we get home. That's all I'm saying.
You should have asked Fake Mary Jo to watch your dog.
I don't know how to reach her. I feel like I...
Have you gone to a bar lately? Maybe that's a good place to...
Well, the place that we ran into her, that restaurant, which is, well, if it's not the closest restaurant to our house, it's the second closest. I mean, it's right there. I'm not sure if I'll ever go there again. I went there very early in the pandemic and wigged out. I would have told the story at the time. I don't remember, but there were tons of people standing around. No one's wearing masks. The women working there not wearing masks. And I was like, you guys, you're all going to get COVID. What are you doing? And someone misunderstood my complaint. They thought I was complaining because it was taking too long for my food. And I'm like, no, I'm complaining because you're all here and you're all risking everyone else's lives. Like, this was in like possibly as early as April last year. It might have been May, but it was before my favorite restaurant reopened. And anyway, that's where I saw her. And that place is very close to where we both live, like I said. So I don't know. I always figured I would run into her somewhere, a gas station, supermarket, something like that. But
Well, if you run into her, you could ask her why Qualcomm is building their own phone.
Qualcomm has a very common disease.
Go on carefully.
They do this one thing and they do it well or not well. I know some people complain about Qualcomm chips for some reason. Honestly, I find it hard to argue with what they've been able to accomplish in the smartphone market, not just with their processing chipsets, but 5G and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they obviously do good stuff. That's their job, But you see Intel experimenting with PCs with a NUC, and now these guys are like, oh, we can make a phone. We'll show these guys. This is like Microsoft used to make like these reference designs for computers, and they would talk about them at WinHec or other shows, and it would be like the Athena PC, and it's like, this is what we think PC should be like, and PC makers never went along with them, so they're like, well, we'll show you. We're going to make our own PCs, and it's like, guys, could you just stick to your strengths? Qualcomm designing it's like, just stop overreaching. It's like you do this one thing really well, just do that. Just don't,
Well, the great part is Qualcomm created this insider program like 3-4 months ago or whatever this was.
Yeah, excitement for some brand that nobody cares about.
Yeah, everyone's like, what an insider for a chip company? And then now they're trying to upsell that specific group a $1,500 phone.
It's too much. This is, people kind of have equated this to Nexus. Remember, Google used to do this. They would work with a hardware maker, and it was a different one every year. And then the final year was 2 different ones. But and you design this thing, but the Nexus phones were inexpensive. That was one of the,
Yep.
it was the flagship killer before that was a thing. Those, the Nexus 5 in particular, and then I would say the 5X and the 6P were some of the best handsets ever made for those times, and they were not expensive compared to the market leaders. I mean, if Snapdragon, if they want to, I mean, they don't want to lose money on this, right? So I think what you're seeing there is the true cost of a smartphone when you're not a smartphone maker. You're this outside player, a boutique. You don't get volume. How they don't get volume pricing on stuff is crazy, but displays and all the materials that go into it, it's not just chips. Um, I, I don't understand. If this thing was like $1,000, you could be like, okay, well, it is a high-end phone.
Maybe.
I don't know how they can justify that. Even a really nice iPhone, whatever they're called now, 12 Pro Max.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could spec it out to $1,500, but it doesn't start at $1,500. I mean, it's tough.
Also, we got an interesting build of Windows 11, not because of what the features are. It's effectively what we've learned is that the baseline components of Windows 11 are done. They're RTM.
Right. That's exactly right.
Because Microsoft is now pushing, when they're pushing, so far I should say, we have a sample of size of 1, so that, I guess maybe that's not perfect, but visual updates visual updates or UI updates now are coming with cumulative updates rather than changing the underlying build of the OS, which is honestly a pretty big deal.
I agree. And they spent a lot of time over the past year, at least maybe year and a half, actually testing this very thing. Although the features they delivered the entire time, they never once delivered anything substantial. I would say that these UI changes, as small as they are the biggest thing they've ever delivered via a cumulative update that I'm aware of anyway. So yeah, right. You're right. It's only one build. We know that the leaked build was an earlier build, but this build, like the original official build, is 22,000 point something. I think they went from point 56 to 61, maybe. I don't remember
Something
exactly.
Like that.
But yeah, there are UI changes, and it's like, that's interesting,
Yep.
And there you go. You still have to reboot, right? But this
It was only 5 minutes to install, which is nice, by the way. It now tells you approximately how long it thinks it's going to take to install.
Yeah, and this is big news. I mean, we saw this with 21H1 was even something a little different. It was even quicker, actually. It's which is kind of crazy, but of course they added nothing to it. I mean, there's no real new features there, but them being able to do this is very interesting, and this speaks to some of the questions we still have about Windows 11, which regarding the support lifecycle and how things happen. It's 2 to 3 years of support, depending on what version of Windows 11 you've got. But what about we know one feature update a year, but we also that this thing is brand new, and people are going to have feedback, and that feedback's not going to be implementable before the thing is finalized.
Mm-hmm.
They might want to make changes. How are we going to have to wait a year now? Well, the answer, I think, is no. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of changes to Windows 11 over the next year,
Interesting.
Yeah. And when I say a lot, I don't mean a lot of like major block, but, we changed the UI again. I mean, people, provide this thing they added, like the start search thing. It's like, guys, it's the third way you can start search. It all's tied to the same thing. It's like, this is, to me, is very against the point of Windows 11, which is to simplify the UI. And I've wondered about this openly. Are they going to slowly feature creep this thing back to what Windows always is, which is you have a million different ways to do the same thing? And you can see with Start Search, they've already done it. There's the implicit Start Search that's just hit start and type. It doesn't matter what the UI does, you're going to get Start Search. There's a search button, that used to be a search bar in Windows 10. And you could configure that, which just brings you to the same UI. And now there's a search box in Start. Guys, like seriously, if you're going to put a search box in Start, get rid of the search button on the taskbar. There's no reason for all. It's all redundant, And like I said, I think is against one of the core principles, calmness, simplicity, right? Not clutter, which is what this stuff is. Anyway.
Yeah,
you're right. The big thing here is the QM update thing, and I think this is even bigger than we realize yet.
Yeah, we need a couple more builds under our proverbial belt to kind of see if they're going to change this. But it raises the question: is the next major update? So a year from now, does that take us to Windows 11 build 23,000? Did they get a nice even?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Or they could just do 22,001. I guess, but to
Yeah.
kind of speak to the fact that it's still Windows 11, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so if we get the next one and it's to 22,000 points, 7.8 or something, and they add features like Android app support, right? Which the infrastructure has to all be there, right? I mean, we just don't see the UI for that, or that chat with Teams feature. I mean, how big does it have to be before it can't be delivered in some way like this? I mean, does the Android App Store thing that might just be a store update? It might literally come through the store itself. We don't know, but I think everything we know that's coming in Windows 11 can be delivered in a very simple, fast fashion, and to me that's exciting. I mean, I would say of all the problems with Windows 10, if you had to pick anything, just to call it out as the worst thing, has to have been this Windows as a Service thing, right? And the updating baloney.
So here's the other interesting question based on what you just said. So we know that there is Android apps coming. We also know that it's coming with the Windows subsystem for Android. I can't remember off the top of my head. Is the Windows subsystem for Linux a totally separate component, meaning that you can just download, the proverbial subsystem without, again, touching the underlying OS, and then it works?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at the, if you look at the Windows features thing, which is a control panel, by the way, but whatever. It lists all the optional features that you can turn on and off. Internet Explorer used to be in here, but now Internet Explorer is gone. You can still toggle Windows Media Player off if you want. And here it's, anyway, Hyper-V, etc., Sandbox. Windows subsystem for Linux is in there. Windows subsystem for Android is not, right? So my assumption is that it would be in the same place as Windows subsystem for Linux, but whatever, maybe things change. But again, can they deliver a cumulative update, sometime in the next 30 days or whatever it is that adds that as well? I think they can. I really do. I think this has been what they're doing now is the point of all the testing they did, where they were like, you've got to, whatever they were calling it, some kind of a cumulative update, feature update, whatever the hell it was. What are the changes? There are no changes. Or it changed the menu in Snap and Snip or whatever it's called, Snip and Sketch or whatever. And it's like, okay. And people are like, what's the point of this? I think the point of it was testing the infrastructure to do what they're doing now.
We'll find out. Maybe next week. Maybe this
exciting
week.
Time to be alive, Brad.
Is it?
Well, compared to the last 6 years, yeah.
At least there's something. At least there is something. Not much else going on heading into the weekend. You already said you're going away to the...
Yeah, we're going to Philly on Sunday. Like I said, I'll just do the podcast from the hotel on Monday, actually on Tuesday as well, I would imagine. That's it. Yeah. No, we have friends in town, so we're gonna go visit some wineries this afternoon, and we have restaurants and stuff.
A little bit of gallivanting around town.
Yeah.
Well, fun.
How about you? Well, you have a dog.
Yeah, we have a dog that doesn't do well when you leave it alone. So I think we're going to be a bunch of Brad sitting on the deck.
Can you take it out? Like, can you go to a dog park or something? Or
potentially. And then I think my dog would rebuttal because we've never taken me to a dog park. A lot of times we just let our dog off the leash in the backyard and he's fine because he's a good dog.
See, my dog can't. My dog won't do that.
Yeah, Royce will just run around and yell his name loud enough, he'll come running to you. But
yeah.
Fig Newton, I don't know if Fig Newton would do it.
It's gonna call it a different name every time.